Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to My First Dollar. My name is Taryn Arnold with Buy Me a Coffee. And this week, I am so excited. I wish I could do a drum roll because it feels very fitting.
I'll teach you.
Yeah, perfect. I'm very excited to be joined by professional drummer and YouTuber with nearly 4 million views, which is no joke. This is Mike Barnes.
Woo! Oh, thank you, lovely. I'm delighted to be here. Just actually just passed 4 million views some a couple of days.
Oh,
back,
you did?
So I did.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that
Yeah.
happened so fast. I checked like yesterday or something. So you
Yeah,
really...
so I think when you check on the user, like on the if you're the user, if you're the creator, like it's a little ahead. It's like a couple of days ahead, I think somehow. So if you look
Well,
at
can I
from
cheers
my
to
end,
that?
yeah. Oh, cheers to that. Yeah, lovely. Thank
What do you
Are
got? What do
drinking?
you? Well, I've got decaf coffee because I'm just gonna,
nice.
you know, I can't have too much. What do you have?
I've got a green tea right now, so I'm all about green tea at the minute.
Oh,
Because,
wait, isn't it nighttime for you?
It is, but I don't know. I'm not someone who gets kept awake by caffeine. So when
That's
it's
amazing.
my wife will tell you this. When it's time to go to sleep, I just go to sleep. That's fine. I'm just lying in
You
bed. That's
just
my
calm
superpower. Is if I was, we always joke about this. Like if I was I was Superman or a superhero, my superpower would be if I lie in a bed, I just go to sleep instantly. So it doesn't really bother
That's
me. But I'm all
honestly-
about green tea at the minute.
That's
Sorry, go
cool.
ahead.
Are you normally a green tea kind of guy, or is this a
So
new
I-
kick for you?
I've been drinking it for like a year or two, and I teach a really cool lad, and his mum is a neuropsychologist, and she was telling me about all this amazing evidence that there is now for green tea and how it can be really helpful in protecting against degenerative brain disease and things of that sort, or at least can be one thing that can help, in that area. So it's a good idea to drink it. And at first, I didn't really like it. I don't think many people do that. It's not something you drink for pleasure necessarily, but actually I've really grown to love it, honestly. So I tried the different ones. You can have the jasmine one, can't you? And you can have the vanilla
the one. The jasmine one is
it is all about the
secret.
jasmine. Yeah. Although now
Wow.
I've found the Tetley other green teas available, but I found the Tetley straight green tea is actually now I find it delicious. It's taken about a year or so to start enjoying it. But now,
Is this going to be a spin-off channel that you have is going to be a green tea reviewer?
I shouldn't think so. Normally I'm coffee. Normally I'm like cafetiere coffee all the way. But green tea like once a day. Yeah. And if science says, then I'll go with that.
I feel like that's smart. I feel like green tea is one of those things that everyone says is good for you. And at some point, we've all just got to get on the train,
Probably, yeah. You just got to ride it. You got to barrel through it. The first 6 months are rough, but then it's like anything. You start enjoying it. It becomes part of you after a few months.
Yeah.
You feel weird if you don't drink it. If you just
I
stick with
have
it.
to ask because we're already here, but if you could share a cup of green tea with anyone, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Well, this is big. So, I mean, thousands of people. I suppose I should say drum stuff, shouldn't I? Because I'm here to talk about drums. So, obviously
No, you can say whatever you want.
Drummers. I mean, my favourite drummer of all time is probably my favourite drummer is a guy called Jeff Porcaro, and he played in the band Toto. This is like classic dad rock references
Oh my
already, isn't it?
gosh.
You know Toto?
Yes.
Yeah. With
Of course I know
Africa,
Toto.
and he had the golden feel. I mean, so many drummers hopefully will agree with me on this. He didn't necessarily play like the fastest. He wasn't the flashiest. He wasn't like the guy who wowed people by speed. I mean, he was well capable of doing that, but he was about feel. And I always think this game drumming is all about feel, isn't it? He just had the golden feel. Like everything, if you listen to Hold the Line, or you listen to Rosanna, or you listen to Africa, or you listen to anything he played on, everything is perfect. I think it's the closest thing to perfect that we've had in like pop drumming, And so probably
awesome.
him, and then also Stuart Copeland from The Police is also my guy, and he's for exactly the same reason, honestly. Like again, there was never too much. It was always just enough drumming in there. Like it wasn't too busy. It was just enough to be exciting and to kind of sweep you along, and your attention never lost it for a second. You know what I'm saying? But it was
Is
never
that
too
what makes
much.
a
He never
good drummer?
overplayed. I think so. Yeah. So it's funny because I've never been about drummers. Like I'm never turned on by like drum. So I'm the first person to go to the bar when you go to the gig and there's a drum solo. I'm literally the first person to say, right, who wants a beer? I'll go and get them in. Because I'm not massively sort of turned on by that kind of. My dad calls it drum kit falling downstairs drumming. Like where you got the kind of like 100,000 notes a minute. I've never been that turned on by that. For me, but just from my perspective, I just like music. I got into playing drums because I just loved music and desperately just wanted to be a musician. I thought drums would be the easiest in some way, or the most accessible, or something, and some version of that. But I think so. I think that's what, for me, makes a great drummer, is someone who just makes the thing feel good. Like, no one, because people come to your gig to watch you play drums, or people listen to your drumming coming out of the stereo when they drive down the road in their car. They don't care what you're playing. They don't care how fast it is. They don't care. Like, most people don't know or care, or nor should they, about the logistics of what you're playing and how difficult it is or anything like that. They just want it to feel good. That's it. That's if you make it feel. I always say this to my students, because it's what I really sort of hold dear. If you make it feel good, then game over. That's it. You've won. You know. That's the whole game. I think so. Yeah.
You touched on getting into drumming because you thought it was easiest, which I think is bizarre. I think
it's a common story.
Anytime I sit down at a pair of drums, I'm like, where do I begin? I always think it's gonna work. Like, I'm like, I'll just do a little something. It never works. So tell me about how you got into drumming and kind of how it took off for you.
So I just always desperately wanted to be a musician. I just loved music. It was always my thing, and I just wanted to play. And I did that thing that everyone does. I remember listening to records and, like, literally standing with a tennis racket, like pretending I was a guitarist, you know, in front of the mirror and those things. Yeah, like, who doesn't? And then I just never really sort of did it or got around to it. I played the cello, I think. Like, they made you take an instrument, right? Like at secondary school when you were 11. And I played the cello.
And then you picked the weirdest one.
I think I was just assigned the cello. You don't really pick. Yeah. I don't, no offense to people who play cello who love it, but I think I was just awarded the cello. And
it picked you. It picked you.
Yeah, it did. And I was rubbish. I didn't practice. I wasn't into it in any way. You can't really carry a cello around when you're 11. It's weird. It's too big. So you just didn't do anything. And so, but I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a pop musician. I knew that. I just loved pop music, basically, and rock music and things like that. And my sister did a sponsored swim to buy the school a drum kit, like to raise money. And so my mum, I think, basically said, "Oh, you better go and have some lessons because your sister went to all this trouble to get the school a drum kit." And I did. And it's funny, I didn't actually I was kind of, I remember my teacher being a bit frustrated with me at first. I didn't get that into it at first, and it took me a little while, a bit like green tea. It took me like a few months to sort of get bitten by the bug. Do you know what I mean? But then when I did, I just fell in love with it. And I think more than anything else, actually, it wasn't even about drumming. I just fell in love with having a thing. I just fell in love with, like, because, you know, when you're at school, and I wasn't massively sort of, I don't know, I wasn't good at, like, I was okay at several things. I was okay at studying. I was like good at, I liked sport. I was into it, but I was never that guy who's like, oh, he's the guy who does that. But then when you play an instrument, you become the guy or the girl or who has something, like and then you have a thing. Do you know what I mean? You have a thing, and it's your thing in your life, and you look after it and you nourish it. And when you get to a certain point with it, you realise that it's a thing. Do you know what I mean? You realise it's something of value, and it's something that you can have in your life, and it gives you like direction, and it gives you, I don't say like a sense of worth, because it's not that you don't need things to give you a sense of worth, but it gives you a sense of direction, like it gives you something to have, and something that excites you. You get up in the morning, and it's exciting to be a musician. It's an amazing thing to have in your life, and it's just it's just about, like, you know, gratitude. When you wake up in the morning, you think, I'm so happy to live a life where I'm able to spend time doing this nice thing, you know, and I just feel so lucky to have to be in that position. You don't have to sort of.
That's amazing.
And my life isn't constantly worrying. So there's sometimes I could just go and play an instrument. It's just a beautiful thing. I just feel so lucky and so, so grateful to have that in my life. You know.
And when did it go from like, oh, this is me playing drums on the weekend and, you know, taking classes and whatever, to I'm now a drummer. That is what I identify with, and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. That's a good question. I would say, because I started playing the drums when I just turned 13, I would say it was when I got to sixth form college. So when I was 16 years old, that's when I knew it was my thing at that point. So I'd gone through like a few grades. I'd played in a couple of bands. Couldn't really describe exactly why that happened, but it did happen. Like, I definitely remember, like, I used to cycle home from college. I remember cycling home and just playing drums for hours and hours. I remember one day I played drums for 7 hours when I got home, like, straight. And my poor neighbours, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Well, we lived next door to a lovely lady called Mrs. Chapman, and she was deaf. So, and it's funny, isn't it? I was thinking about this recently. I was reading a book. Is it Malcolm Gladwell? I can't remember what book it was, but it was a while ago. And he talks about all this sort of like serendipity, like all the things that have happened in your life. And like, it's really weird. It's so easy to say, oh yeah, I worked really hard on this, and this is what I deserve. And but actually, there's loads of things that just fell into place. Obviously, like, I can't take the credit for everything.
Chapman.
Like, Mrs. Chapman being deaf was probably the number one reason I play the drums for a living now. It's because I just played constantly. I'm so sorry. And Mrs. Chapman she was amazing because she never said a word. The only thing she ever said, I remember once we asked her about it, like, is this all right? I'm obviously like whacking drums right next to your living room, and she said, oh, I really like, because she lived on her own, she said, I really like it because it feels like someone else is there. Like she really dug it because it like she just felt someone else being around. She was on her own. And
oh my
yeah, it's
God,
funny, isn't it? The things
so
that
sweet.
like along your little journey, the things that fell into place for you. That was one of the big ones. Was
they
that.
just kind of click, and you're
away
like,
from your question.
That is so, it's special because you look back and you're like, oh, I had no idea that had it not been for Miss Chapman, I might be sitting at a desk doing taxes or something that you definitely don't want to be doing.
Yeah, so that's a good point, because this whole thing, I mean, like everything, it's just about time. You have to spend the time. If you're a musician or whatever the thing is that you do, or you're a writer or whatever, you have to just, there's no way around the hours, is there? There's just no way around it. You sit and you just fall in love with it, and you just play and you just noodle on it, and you chisel it out of stone, it's not like it suddenly arrives out of nowhere. You just, every day you just chisel and you for years and years, and that's what's so amazing about it, is you build this thing. I'm not saying I've built a beautiful sculpture. My drumming is obviously, like everyone's, a work in progress, but you chisel away, and as you keep going, this sort of beautiful thing emerges, this sort of thing that you never really get to, but we're all working towards. And there's just no way around those hours. So again, I'm just so lucky and so grateful that I was able to do that. And at that point, going back to the question before, By the time I'd got to about 16, 17, I knew that I'd done enough hours of falling in love with it by that point. I knew it was what I wanted to do. That was my thing. Yeah.
Where you were headed. Yeah. And when did YouTube come in? Like, how did you start bringing that into your drumming?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, again, it was no great strategy behind it. So what happened
Miss Chapman tell you to do it?
No, it was a few years after Mrs. Chapman. No, it was only 2016, I think, or 17. I made the first YouTube video. I used to do a silly little thing with my drum students. So it was just about the guys who used to come to my studio in Cambridge with my local little drum teaching practice. And we used to do Name That Drum Tune. So each week I'd play like 30 seconds of drumming. And the first one was cool. No One Knows, Queens of the Stone Age, that tune. And I just do a bit obviously without the backing track, just play the drums, and you had to guess what it was, and the first person to guess it right got to choose the one for the next week, which quickly descended into people just making me play the most horrible, like, hard thing that they could think of, as you can imagine. So that was only 2016, and all it was, honestly, was I had a little local teaching practice, which I loved, and was amazing, and it was when our kid was first born, our son, and I obviously needed to. I was a musician. It was amazing, but it was a musician's life up until the point I got married and we had our son. I needed to really just kind of figure out something business-wise that was rock solid. So I rented this studio in Cambridge, and it was really expensive. So I ended up just racking. It was crazy. Just so many hours of teaching. I did like hours and hours of teaching a day. And to make that a bit easier, I just started recording videos. So a lot of the time, the same questions would come around. And I think what was so cool about teaching so many people was all the same questions came around, and you started to see the patterns. It was like sort of pattern recognition. It kept coming around, and I realised actually what I can do is take this thing that I'm saying over and over again and just stick it on a video, man. I think the whole thing has just come from that, really. So it just came from working with people face to face, and I just put a few up, and it was basically just to facilitate that, to make it easier. And at first it was really cute, actually. I miss these days. I used to record everybody their own set of videos. So this is right when it started. Before I even did YouTube, I used to record a video on my phone, like after everybody's lesson, and upload it to Dropbox and like send them their own little link to it, and like I really miss those days. That was kind of where it started. I remember like, because you remember if you're a kid, right, and you go for your drum lessons, if like names are magic, aren't they? I remember I read this in a book as well. If you say somebody's name, it's like is that in How to Make Friends and Influence People, one of those books?
Yeah. Like I actually think it is.
So if you say somebody's name, that's the sweetest sound they'll ever hear. And I just think that's so true. Every time if you meet somebody, they say your name, it's always, everyone gets a kick out of that, doesn't they? It's just like acknowledging that person on a deeper level than just saying hey to them, like giving them some real definition. Really sort of, I think it's just a lovely thing to do. So I used to say people's name. I know that, like, especially the kids got a kick out of that when they first came along. So I miss those days. And then obviously that grew and grew. And then I remember by the end of 2017, I did a gig. I've got a really good friend, Dan Hawkins, an incredible bass player. And he's moved out to Singapore recently, actually. He's a great friend of mine. I did tons of gigs with him. And we did a lot of gigs like the musicians do, like weddings or like functions, or like, sort of sleazy corporate awards do, like, just functions basically. And it was a Christmas gig, and it was a wedding at Christmas in this funny old castle thing. And he was going, yeah, your YouTube thing. Like I wasn't aware it was a thing at this point. This is like the end of 2017. He's like, you've got people like subscribed to it. I don't think that's the thing. I was like, yeah. I'd noticed like emails coming in. I guess I had the thing activated where you got a notification on your email, and I noticed that starting to happen. Didn't really think much of it, And he said, yeah, he was basically sort of politely making the point to me that, yeah, this is a thing, dummy. Like you're building a thing up here, so like I have to go and he really inspired me to go and take a look at that. And so it was only a couple of years back, 2018, when I sort of realised it was a thing and could end up being something really, really cool. And
that's awesome.
And it is, yeah. It's incredible.
And how are you getting your following? Like, is it just people that you're teaching and then it extends out of that? Or just talk me through how that's growing for you.
Yeah, so at first it definitely was just people I was teaching. And then I used to do things like, I still do things like record video demos of the grade pieces. So when you're learning your drums, you can do the grades, as in like grades 1 to 8, the different levels. Mm-hmm. So I do demos of the pieces. I do videos where I talk through the pieces. And I just take the questions that I'd been asked again and again and just make videos about that. So just like more often than not, I would guess, my kind of go-to video, standard video is, the title of it is a question. It's just a question that drummers say like over and over again, or I've heard 1,000 times people coming into my studio asking me. So that, and I think people literally just type those questions in, I guess. Like that's what I would do. Like that's
and you just pop up.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess, and then more and more as you go along, like that happens more and more, doesn't it? In a big way, I've got to give shout outs to Trinity, who do exams, like Trinity College London and Rock School as well. Because I recorded, and they're cool with this, and they love it. I guess it works for them because it's promoting their stuff as well. So I record demos of all their material and talk about how to play the pieces and demo little bits of it, and then so I guess awesome. The following just comes from people either searching for that or asking questions, like, because YouTube and Google are kind of the same thing now. And so you just Google a question, and as it goes on, I start popping up more and more. You just get on a roll. You just get on a winning streak, really. You just sort of keep going.
That's awesome.
And
is there anything you wish you would have known at the beginning that you could go back and tell yourself, or would you just redo it how it's been?
To do with YouTube specifically, or
YouTube and your drumming career, anywhere there.
Is there anything yes, I used to, at the beginning, I used to kind of be concerned in some way that, because I don't know if you've ever watched any of my videos, you'll notice that production values are basically 0. And I used to think about that, or worry about that. Yeah, no, now I absolutely don't worry about that, and actually think that's kind of the main, not the appeal of the channel, but that's kind of the main point is, I've never tried to compete with any other channel or any other thing in terms of like production values. It's just, and I really, again, it comes back to sort of just wanting to, well, it comes back to being in the room with the person. I just wanted that vibe, really. It was just an extended version of what it's like being in the room with the guys that I worked with and the guys that I was teaching and bringing along, So it was just a kind of extended version of that. Sorry, I've lost track of it. What was the question again?
No. That makes sense to me. You're like, I wish I would have not worried as much.
Not worried as much. I don't know. So occasionally I used to like not put videos up because I thought, the lighting is not very good, or like doesn't sound great. And like to be honest, like I mean, like even now, like 4 million views. Like majority of my videos are just shot on my mobile phone. So the first I think I've made about 800 odd videos or something. The first about 300 or 400 of those, I didn't even use my computer. I just literally did it on my mobile phone and trimmed it. Right, just like literally, when you do it and you go to your camera roll and you trim the video, right? You press edit and then just uploaded it on there. I didn't even. This makes me laugh because you hear people talking about, I spent hours in post production. It's like I just didn't do it. I just literally did it.
You're
and
like,
people always say to me, and the funniest thing is people say to me, in those early videos, like you had such high energy, and I basically had to shout. That's the reason. It all came from the fact that the drums are loud, right? So as soon as you hit the drum the first time, your iPhone goes, right, got it. This is loud, and it kind of turns the gain right down. So then you've got to shout. So my quote unquote high energy delivery was just me not wanting to have to waste any time. I didn't have any time. I had a small baby.
It was you being lazy, but then it ended up working.
I wasn't lazy. I had a baby at home. I had a family to support. So I was doing the thing that you have to do to support your family. I was just saying, right, okay, let's get this up. And also, so as time went on, I realised more and more that this is true. I'm not knocking production values, but I'd actually really like to have nice production values. Obviously, and part of this whole process with the Buy Me a Coffee thing is sort of getting to that point actually where I'm able to do that more and more. But I just did the thing that worked, and I've always believed really that the sort of content is king. And I never cared if I wanted an answer to a question. I didn't care like what the guy's video looked like. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted the information. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you're like, I want the best answer. Just give me an answer that's
right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Wow.
So the thing I'd say to the version of me at the start is, don't waste any time worrying about that. Just crack on. Like, answer
just
questions.
Keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah, you've got it. You've nailed it. Yeah, keep going and make the videos that people want to watch. Answer the questions that people have. Just
awesome.
do the thing just show the thing that you love, man. Don't worry about it dressing it up. Just show the thing that you love. I think that's the big thing. If you're really engrossed in something, if you truly love something, like musicians or whatever, like whatever the thing people have in their life, if you truly love something, all you've got to do is just show that, like open the window, just kind of show people that your love for it. You know what I mean? It kind of that was the thing. So yeah, those two things, I reckon. Don't worry about production values. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but don't be held back by like having to get the lighting right, or like whatever you do, don't not post something because you're worried that it like in that way it won't work. And and don't worry too much about like going crazy, like pulling stuff out of nowhere. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Just if you're, like I was thinking, if you're teaching and you're just getting these questions and people are getting like appreciating the answer to the questions and you see that working, just go with that. Like just put, go with what's there and just put it up.
Totally. Yeah, I think that the production value thing specifically really holds people back, especially now with like everyone has a cool camera or everybody whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the people that, but at the end of the day, the people like, you go on TikTok or Instagram or something and it's just it's people filming on their phone and that's the stuff that people want to see.
Or if you listen to the Beatles' first record, it's a flipping 4-track. It's unreal. Like, who cares? Like, if it feels good, I'd listen to it all day. Listen to the Rolling Stones. The drums, they sound like it was one mic dangling over the drummer's head. You know what I mean? But it sounds amazing. Or listen to a Motown record. It's one flipping mic in the middle of the room, and everybody's just flipping 30 dudes just playing into this one mic. But it sounds unreal.
And there's nothing that sounds or feels better than like listening to a classic Motown record too. You're just I feel things that I don't feel now.
Yeah, there's zero correlation between like how clear, like beautifully something is recorded and then the emotional impact of it, like the feel of it. Music is, I just think that's what it is. It's emotional communication. If you can do that, then everything else just turns to dust, doesn't it? It doesn't matter about production or anything else.
And so you mentioned that you were like, leveling up is getting a new camera or whatever it is. Production value is part of what you're doing with Buy Me a Coffee. Would you walk me through kind of what brought you to Buy Me a Coffee and even if it's more than that, wherever else you're accepting support or
it basically is Buy Me a Coffee. That's where my whole kind of support, like financial support thing is. For sure. What happened was obviously my YouTube and various channels built up, and I went to the UK drum show actually in Manchester in 2019. That was in September, and it was really eye-opening actually, because I hadn't thought about it a lot. But then when I was suddenly in a room with tons of people who really love the drums, especially like young guys and girls playing and coming up, like they'd come up to me and say things like, "Oh, can we support you? Like, we're loving the channel, we watch all your videos." Like, it was absolutely mind-blowing to see the number of people come up. They really knocked me back that day. And I was quite overcome by it actually as I went away. Like, I didn't really realise what this thing was, and you realise that all those people are real people. You meet them, and it's like absolutely mind blowing. So those people came up and said, is there any way we can support? And I went, okay, yeah, cool. That really made me think. And then I basically just Googled it like everything else. I remember I was on the train on the way to a night out with my mates actually. We have a thing, we do the band AGM once a month, which is it's not an AGM, it's just drinking beer, but we call it the AGM. And I remember sitting on the train to London and Googling like ways that YouTube channels get support. I thought that'd be cool, and all the usual things popped up. And you know what, Buy Me a Coffee it just stood out straight away. I just thought the tone was right. I thought the tone was spot on. So nothing against Patreon and is it Ko-Fi, that one? And
I never know what I do know what you mean, but I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I think it's Ko-Fi, but I could be wrong. And other ways of doing that, like PayPal and things like that, which seemed like a little, I don't know, not quite the vibe was a little cold, but it just seemed so perfect. And that was literally what people said to me. So at the drum show, I'd love to, I'll buy you a beer. I've literally people said, I'll buy you a coffee. So immediately, as soon as I saw the title, I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. At that point, it was literally just people buying you a coffee. So it's just like one-off support. That immediately made sense. So, people that, spend a lot of time watching the videos, which I hugely appreciate, and say, okay, cool. So I see this as something as of value, and I'd like. And my little dream, honestly, like as it went along, I've realised this in the last year or two. My little dream, really, with it is that anybody who isn't able to, there's no expectation at all that anybody will support my channel. Like zero expectation. So my dream is if somebody has nothing or isn't in a position to support, but loves playing the drums and desperately wants to learn, they can have it. They just have everything. And I think we massively underestimate how unreal it is that the internet has put us in a position where this can happen now. I think it's just unreal.
Totally.
So then I'm not holding anything back. Like, literally everything I know about drums by this point, 800 videos later, is on that channel. There's no like secret thing that I'm holding back. There's just literally I'm flat out. Like that's everything I know. So my dream is anybody who can't contribute to that, that's fine. They can have it all. They can work on it. They can support maybe further down the line if they're in a position to, great, but whatever, that's totally fine. And anyone who is in a position to, then and they want to, then of course that's brilliant. I massively appreciate it. And that's the dream. And when it starts to sort of grow up and get to scale, I just think I personally find it unbelievably exciting that those two things can happen. So people who don't have anything like can use it and take the value from it, and hopefully can benefit from. I don't know. In fact, I've been doing this thinking about it for long enough that hopefully I've got some helpful things to say. But then at the same time, especially as it grows, there's enough people who are in a position to support it, who want to, that it means that I can do it full time and grow it. Is an unreal idea. I think that both of those things can happen.
And it creates like a cool little community where it's like the people that are buying you coffee are giving back to the people that can't buy you coffee, and it's like this nice little. That's awesome. I noticed on your Instagram that you post a lot of your buy me when people buy you coffee, you'll post about it. Is that did you get that tactic from the thing you said earlier of like people love to hear their names said?
Oh, partly, yeah. I guess I hadn't joined that up, but yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think I probably did, yeah. Of course, you just celebrate it. I think this is awesome. If someone goes to the trouble to only watch the thing that you're doing, use it, see the value in it, and then let's face it, like go to the website and go through that process of supporting you, that's massive. That's mind-blowing. And if people that you've never met on the other side of the world support you, the first thing you want to do is celebrate that and go, thank you so much, this is so cool. To any extent you can, give them a little celebration, give them a little moment. That makes perfect sense. Also, it's just a good way of like making people aware of it in a way that isn't like me just saying, oh, can you buy me a coffee? Like at the end of every video, whatever, It's just like a way of keeping it. Like, because then people ask me, oh, what's this? I saw somebody bought you a coffee, what's that? And at least it's a really nice way of it. Everyone being aware of it. So again, just on the
feeling organic,
on the idea that if you, and people who want to support, like, because if people want to support, obviously they need to be aware of how that would happen. So it's a good way of like keeping awareness of it without like pushing it on anybody or like forcing anybody. Just making people like raising the consciousness of it, so people know it's a thing. But also, awesome. Saying thank you to people. Yeah.
That's cool. One last question for you is if you could talk to all the people like you in the world that they have a thing, they love it, they love doing it, they want to take it to another level where it can support them and support their family and, kind of drive itself. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah. Just do the thing that you love and just show that. I just like as time's gone on, the thing I've realized is it's way, way simpler than I would ever have thought. So all you have to do, it's not all you have to do because it takes a flipping lifetime, but you love something and you just immerse yourself in it. Like if anybody who truly loves anything, whatever the thing is, they know what this is. You just love it and you spend all your working life thinking about it and you just totally get lost in it. And then all you have to do is you then, like I said, you just kind of show people that really. Like, don't overthink it. You don't have to pull stuff out of nowhere. You don't have to constantly think of new, like, gimmicky ways of presenting it, whatever. You just show that you love something. And I think there demonstrably are enough people who just get that and feel that. And honestly, maybe the people who would be more impressed by like, gimmicky ways or whatever, like you maybe don't necessarily want, they wouldn't be the sort of you necessarily want to work with anyway.
Go on.
So yeah, just love your thing and just show that. And I don't think this can be understated, like that the internet's got to the point that we're now in this position that can happen. Somebody who just loves something and has sort of dedicated their life to something can just show that they love it and give away, basically, or share the things that they love about it and give the information that they've got. And maybe like just, if they've been, like I said, been doing it long enough, they can sort of share the things that they know about it that they think might be helpful. That someone can do that is mind blowing. You don't have to overthink it. Just love, like don't focus on creating stuff for people. Just love something and work at it, and then just show that. It just seems like that's now incredibly, because where we're at, that's just can be the natural consequence of just having a thing and loving it and working on it. I guess that's how I see it.
Mike, you're a star. I really, really wish that I knew how to do it. Is there a quick way you can teach me how to do it, like a drum roll or like something?
I've got a drumstick pen here. Look at this. It's got a drumstick on one end. I'm going to teach you. You know what I'm going to teach you? I'm going to teach you a buzz roll. You know when a drummer goes brrrr, that thing, right?
Yes.
You know that?
That's exactly what I want.
Okay, great. Is that what you want? Cool. Because I never used to do that when people started the drums. Have you got 2 pens? I've only got 1 pen. Yes. So when people start, I've got 2. Here we go. So when people started the drums in their first lesson, I never used to do this because it takes a bit longer to practice. But 2 things at the end of the lesson, when people. When I say, have you got any questions? Everyone always goes, what's that? When the drummer goes, like the question you just said, that everyone just says that. And also when you say to your mates or your family, I had a drumming lesson, I'm a drummer now, someone will go, whoa, give us a drum roll. And they mean that thing, right? When you press that. It's actually not going to work very well here because it's a rubbish sound. But what you do, right, is so it's all about the fulcrum. So you get your drumstick here about a third of the way up, or a quarter of the way up or so, between your finger and your thumb. And when you're at school, right, and you can do that thing where it looks like your pencil's going all bendy.
Yes, I'm doing it. I can feel it.
Yeah, cool. So that's a good sign that you've got the perfect fulcrum, right? You're not too tight, you're not too loose. Because what you want is you're going to throw it down, and here, I'm going to hit the top of... Can I do this? It's a dobble, right? I'm going to hit the top of dobble as my practice. Right? So what you do is you drop the stick down and you let it bounce a ton of times. This isn't really working very well, but somewhere between 6 and 7 and about 10 times, like you drop it and it hinges here, right? So the hinge is here. You know what I'm saying? I'll do it on the top. You hearing that? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then all you've got to do... You getting that? Yeah. So you would, again, sort of 6 or 7 times or so, it would fall, and eventually it's like dropping a ball, right? It would bounce one time and then again like lower and several times eventually stop, but with a bit of downward pressure as well. So you're going to go right stick, right pen, left pen, right pen, left pen, and then the holy grail is you get to that point where one of the buzzes is still going, like when the next one comes in and they overlap. Do you know what I'm saying? And you get that's a buzz roll or a drum roll.
That is so much like simpler than what I thought was happening. I thought that people were like, like just going. I just thought people were going ham. Like,
I think almost everybody does. Pretty, sounds pretty smooth. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and you're never off duty. The thing with drum rudiments, right? You're just never off duty. I always say to the guys I teach, like when you're at home, on your practice pad, on your pillow, on your tabletop, I always say don't damage anything in your house and don't annoy your family too much. But other than that, just go crazy, practice it as much as you can. But I thought the same thing as you. I thought it was a single stroke roll, which is like just right, left, played like machine gun fire, really fast.
That's what
simpler
I thought.
than that. So your hands don't need to go as fast as that because you're getting multiple strikes on the drum for each like wrist movement.
Wow. Let that be a teaser. If anyone wants, if anyone wants some drum lessons, drum tutorials, you know where to go. Mike has it all. Let's do a little goodbye cheers. Maybe a cheers to Mrs. Chapman for just being there.
I love that you brought that out. I haven't thought about that in years. I love that you brought that out. Thank you.
That was all you. Okay, Mike. Thanks so much. Everyone, go check out Mike Barnes. His links and all of his things will be in the description. Go learn how to drum.
Thank you, Taryn. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks so much.